He ruled the ring with violence and fear, but outside the ropes, Mike Tyson carried rage like armor. Now, decades later, the names he says with venom are the ones that remind him of betrayal, rivalry, and pain. These are the boxers Mike Tyson still hates, and he doesn't hold back. Donovan "Razor" Ruddock. Some of Mike Tyson's most heated rivalries were back in the early 90s against Canadian heavyweight fighter Donovan "Razor" Ruddock. Ruddock was one of the division's toughest punchers at the time, and Tyson viewed him as a serious threat. The two fought twice, and both times it was wars. Their first encounter was in March 1991. Tyson, a recent loser of his title to Buster Douglas, had just come back to the ring and Ruddock was on his way up. This was not another fight. It was personal. Tyson entered aggressively, and both men threw big shots. In the 7th round, the fight was stopped by the referee twice, but in the second stoppage, the fight went to Tyson via TKO. But a lot of the fans, and even Ruddock's corner, believed that the stoppage was unjust. The crowd erupted, and there was pandemonium in the ring. Tyson's corner and Ruddock's corner even fought with each other after the last bell. There was a rematch a few months later, in June 1991. This one went the full 12 rounds. It was vicious. Both men gave their all. Tyson won again, but Ruddock gained Tyson's respect. Despite Tyson throwing some low blows and hard punches, Ruddock never gave up. He continued fighting, round by round. Prior to those battles, Tyson wasn't afraid to express his disdain. In the media, he disparaged Ruddock, referring to him as a coward and stating that he didn't have a place in the ring with him. The tension was high between the two men, and you could sense it at each press conference and weigh-in. But years later, things were different. Tyson would later confess that Ruddock was one of the hardest fighters he ever encountered. He complimented Ruddock's heart and described him as hitting harder than most of the guys he fought. Years later, in interviews, Tyson talked about Ruddock with genuine respect, stating, "He was a dangerous fighter, he came to win." That's something you'll notice with Tyson a lot. His feelings evolve. What started as pure aggression and hatred turned into something closer to admiration. After surviving two of the most punishing fights of his career, Tyson could look at Ruddock not just as a rival, but as a warrior who truly earned his respect. Boxer #2 Mitch "Blood" Green. If there was ever a fighter who really got under Mike Tyson's skin, it was Mitch "Blood" Green. This rivalry went far beyond boxing gloves. It became a real-life vendetta that Tyson never quite dropped. Their first official meeting occurred in the ring in 1986. Tyson was then still climbing the heavyweight ranks, while Green was already famous for his crazy personality and trash talk. Throughout the bout, Tyson dominated from beginning to end. He defeated Green by unanimous decision, but it wasn't a knockout, and that angered him. Green remained on his feet throughout and goaded Tyson throughout the contest. That in itself was enough to irk Mike, but things did not stop there. Green continued to shoot mouth after the fight. He'd attend press conferences and do interviews stating Tyson was afraid of him, calling him overrated and weak. He even blamed Tyson's promoters for shying away from a rematch. Green was obviously fixated on prolonging the feud, and Tyson was getting hotter and hotter. Then the street fight that became famous. In 1988, Tyson entered a Harlem clothing store to retrieve a custom leather jacket. Mitch Green appeared out of nowhere and had a confrontation with him outside the store. Exchange words went very quickly to a physical confrontation. Tyson pointed a mighty right hook that gave Green a broken orbital bone surrounding his eye. Tyson, in turn, smashed his hand and had to pull out of a fight against Frank Bruno. The street fight was made legendary among boxing fans, not only for the brutality, but for demonstrating how deep the anger ran. Tyson wasn't responding to an adversary. He was enraged that Green would not leave him alone. Years afterward, Tyson spoke of Mitch Green in interviews, and the rage remained. He referred to Green as a nutcase and described him as one of the only individuals who ever really got to him. He joked about the street fight, but indicated he did not have a high opinion of Green as an individual or as a fighter. "That guy was crazy," Tyson once explained. "He was like a stalker." Unlike some of Tyson's other competitors who eventually gained his respect, Mitch Green never reached that point. Their rivalry was raw, personal, and enduring. For Tyson, it wasn't merely about boxing, it was about pride, peace, and confronting someone who wouldn't let go. Boxer #3 Lennox Lewis. One of the fiercest rivalries in Mike Tyson's career was with Lennox Lewis. Tyson didn't merely dislike him, he hated him, particularly in the years preceding their 2002 mega fight, and he made sure the entire world knew it. Tyson and Lewis had been acquainted since they were teenagers. They even trained together for a brief period when they were young amateurs. But as professionals, things got nasty. Tyson viewed Lewis as stiff and mechanical, somebody who wouldn't keep pace with his unruly energy and style. Throughout the lead up to their battle, Tyson permitted his feelings to erupt. In press conferences, he referred to Lewis as a disgrace to boxing and a pompous, British nobody. Tyson didn't sugarcoat anything, and the press devoured every word. The drama came to a head in a pre-fight press conference in New York. During the face-off, Tyson unexpectedly lunged at Lewis. A major brawl erupted on stage. Tyson punched, bitten Lewis's leg, and was pulled away as he yelled profanities. It wasn't all a show. Tyson was visibly furious and out of his mind. By the time they actually faced each other in the ring in June 2002, Lewis was serene and intense. Tyson was looking over the hill, however. He attempted to open strong but was overwhelmed by Lewis's size, ability, and long jab. Lewis knocked Tyson out in the 8th round with a crushing right hand. It was one of the worst losses of Tyson's career. After the battle, Tyson was humbled. He agreed that Lewis was the better man during the evening but did not give much else in the way of praise. He remained distant about discussing Lewis for a long time. It seemed that the defeat left a hurtful wound that never healed. But as Tyson aged and mellowed, his demeanor softened. In later documentaries and interviews, such as in Tyson, 2008, and his podcast, Hotboxin', he began speaking more respectfully of Lewis. He referred to him as a great champion and declared the loss gave him valuable life lessons. Still, there's always been an undercurrent of bitterness when Tyson speaks about that fight, as if he never quite recovered. The Tyson-Lewis feud was characterized by insults, brutality, and raw emotion. Unlike some of the other rivalries that dissipated into camaraderie, this one never lost a bit of its edge. For Tyson, Lewis symbolized a bitter chapter, one that even time couldn't fully wash away. Boxer #4 Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson's feud with Evander Holyfield is one of the greatest tales in the history of boxing. Everyone is familiar with it due to the infamous bite fight, but there is so much more to their association than that singular moment of astonishment. Tyson and Holyfield were actually meant to fight years back, but it kept getting postponed because Tyson was serving time in prison. When they eventually got into the ring in 1996, Tyson believed he'd score an easy comeback victory by knocking Holyfield out. But that did not materialize. Holyfield outboxed Tyson and beat him up in the 11th round. Tyson was shocked and embarrassed. Tyson felt that Holyfield employed dirty tricks, particularly headbutts, which cut Tyson and left him seething. So, when the rematch in 1997 occurred, Tyson arrived angry and emotional. The bout immediately became ugly. Tyson complained to the referee about further headbutts, but no action was taken. By round 3, he lost his temper. He bit Holyfield's ear, not once, but twice. One of the bites removed a piece of Holyfield's ear. The bout was halted, and Tyson was disqualified. That moment stunned the whole sporting world. Tyson afterwards stated that he bit Holyfield because he was disrespected and thought Holyfield was headbutting him on purpose. He explained, "I wanted to hurt him back." He did not only regard Holyfield as a hard competitor, he regarded him as one who crossed the line. The fallout was ugly. Tyson's boxing license was suspended, and both men fought with words in interviews. Tyson even referred to Holyfield as a phony and a cheater. For years, the tension between the two men had a very personal feel. Tyson appeared conflicted. Part of him admired Holyfield's ability, yet another part felt betrayed. But time softened Tyson. During the 2000s, he began to speak more gently of Holyfield on talk shows and in interviews. In 2009, they even shared a stage together in a public reunion that no one expected. Tyson apologized for biting him, and Holyfield forgave him. They hugged and smiled, and fans got a glimpse of a new side of their relationship. Although they reconciled, you can still sense a bit of awkwardness in interviews. When Tyson speaks about Holyfield today, there is a combination of regret, admiration, and perhaps even a hint of resentment. He once stated, "He beat me fair, but I hated how he fought." Their story isn't merely about two boxers. It's about pride, pain, and learning to release. Tyson might have forgiven, but that feud still resides deep within his memory. Boxer #5 Muhammad Ali. To Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali was not just a legend, but a hero, a role model, and a person Tyson looked up to with great admiration. But that admiration was not always easy. In fact, Tyson once confessed that besides love and respect, he also harbored jealousy towards Ali. Tyson grew up watching Ali and idolizing him. In many interviews, he's said that Ali was the reason he wanted to become a boxer in the first place. When Tyson was still training under his mentor, Cus D'Amato, they would watch Ali's fights over and over. Cus used Ali as the perfect example of greatness. So for Tyson, Ali wasn't just a sports figure. He was a symbol of everything Tyson wanted to become. But as Tyson's own celebrity rose, something odd occurred. Rather than feeling like he had topped Ali's level, Tyson began to feel that he was operating in his shadow. In a tearful interview on The Joe Rogan Experience, Tyson admitted, "I wanted people to love me like they loved Ali, but I knew they didn't." That sentiment lingered. Regardless of how many knockouts he had or how much he was feared in the ring, Tyson never felt that he possessed Ali's charm, warmth, or universal adoration. He even confessed one time, "I hated him because I wanted to be him." It wasn't hate in the classical sense. It was the sort of emotional frustration that is produced by loving someone so intensely you begin to compare yourself to them. Ali also had a personal role in Tyson's life. In 1981, when Larry Holmes was getting ready to fight an aging Ali, Tyson was still a teenager. Ali, realizing Holmes would likely defeat him, said to Cus D'Amato, "Get Tyson ready. One day he'll get revenge for me." And he did. In 1988, Tyson annihilated Holmes in 4 rounds, and afterward claimed he did it for Ali. Yet the psychological burden of being likened to Ali dogged Tyson for years. Ali was the champion of the people, grinning, poetic, political. Tyson was the exact opposite, fierce, volatile, and usually in hot water. That dichotomy led Tyson to believe that no matter how good he was, he'd forever be second best in the public imagination. Ultimately, Tyson has freely admitted that he loves Ali, but it's apparent that love was accompanied by a mess of emotions, admiration, jealousy, and the painful reality that even champions are insecure about their position in history. Tyson's issues with Floyd Mayweather. When it comes to larger-than-life figures in the sport of boxing, Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather are both atop the list. But rather than unite in their greatness, the two have conflicted, largely over ego, respect, and what exactly it means to be the best. Floyd Mayweather frequently refers to himself as TB, the best ever. That moniker in itself irritates Tyson. In several interviews, Floyd has been teased by Tyson for saying so, with Tyson calling him very delusional. Tyson feels nobody should refer to themselves as the best. It's something that should be determined by fans and boxing historians, and not by the fighter himself. One of Tyson's largest concerns about Mayweather is that he perceives him as lacking humility. Tyson has gone on record to say that fighters such as Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, and Sugar Ray Robinson made it possible for boxers such as Floyd, and did it with more class. During an interview, Tyson lost it, saying, "He can't even take his kids to school by himself. He's afraid. How can you be the greatest?" Tyson also criticized Mayweather's choice of opponents, calling him out for cherry-picking fights, i.e., he only fought men when he was sure he was going to win. Although Mayweather has an unblemished record, 50-0, Tyson claimed it doesn't impress him as much as others believe. He once stated, "He beat fighters past their prime. He played it safe." That's not what greatness looks like. There's a conflict of styles, too. Tyson was rough, raw, and explosive. Mayweather is defensive, technical, and cautious. Tyson has articulated his admiration of Floyd's ability, but doesn't consider him somebody who revolutionized the sport or inspired generations in the way Ali or even Tyson himself did. And then there is the fan base. Tyson's fans enjoy heart, grittiness, and power. Mayweather's fans are impressed by his intelligence, flair, and unblemished record. The two fan bases engage in constant warfare on the web, each standing up for their man as the real legend. Tyson's comments just fueled the fire, particularly when he went on to state, "Floyd's just good. He's not great, not like the ones who took real risks." Tyson versus Deontay Wilder. Mike Tyson has never been afraid to be truthful, even when that means criticizing popular fighters. And one boxer he's been especially open about criticizing is Deontay Wilder. While Wilder is famous for his knockout ability and was previously the WBC heavyweight champion, Tyson hasn't hesitated to say he's not impressed. In interviews, Tyson has outright declared that Wilder has no skill. That takes a lot of nerve, particularly for a guy who has knocked out nearly every opponent he's ever had. But to Tyson, it's not merely about brute power. He thinks that boxing is an art that takes technique, discipline, and ring awareness, and that Wilder doesn't have them. Tyson previously stated, "Wilder just throws punches. There's no strategy, no defense. That's not boxing, that's just brawling." He's been outspoken about how modern-day fighters, such as Wilder, lack the toughness or ring IQ that fighters of older days possessed. Tyson's generation of fighters appreciated the work ethic, fighting anyone at any time, and not just being able to win by one punch. He also criticized the notion that Wilder was ever the most feared man in boxing. Tyson had this to say, "That's nonsense. He was never scary. You can't scare people with one trick." And when Wilder went on record saying that he would have beaten a prime Tyson, Mike simply laughed. He replied, "He's delusional. I would have eaten him alive." But Tyson's criticism is not just of Wilder. He's criticized contemporary boxing in general, stating the sport today does not have real warriors. He believes that many of today's fighters are more interested in fame, elaborate entrances, and social media than in becoming proficient at their trade. For Tyson, that's disappointing. He grew up in an era when being the best was about proving yourself each time you got in the ring. No excuses, no picking and choosing opponents. That's why Tyson doesn't credit Wilder much, even with his impressive knockout ratio. In Tyson's opinion, a great boxer requires more than a powerful punch. You must be smart, talented, and fearless. And he feels Wilder hasn't demonstrated those qualities when it matters. So, though Wilder still has a following and respect within the boxing community, he's not winning over Mike Tyson anytime soon. To Tyson, boxers like Wilder symbolize a new generation of boxing, but not necessarily an improved one. When hate turned into brotherhood, Mike Tyson spent years in the world of boxing accumulating fierce grudges, frequently burning with actual rage. But as he matured, his life took a different turn. A lot of the same men he used to despise or fight with would later come into a startling and emotional shift in his life. Tyson began to make amends to others, and ultimately, to himself. One of the greatest acts of forgiveness was with Evander Holyfield. Their feud hit a staggering high point with the infamous bite fight in 1997 when Tyson bit off Holyfield's ear in the ring. Then it seemed like there was no turning back from that. But years later, Tyson actually apologized to Holyfield, and Holyfield forgave him. The two even made light of it in public. Tyson would later say, "I was wrong. At a time, I wanted to hurt him because I was emotionally hurt." This act of forgiveness allowed Tyson to start healing those areas of himself that he had neglected for so long. One other surprise was Tyson's relationship with Lennox Lewis. Prior to their 2002 bout, Tyson and Lewis had an ugly pre-fight brawl at a press conference, and Tyson had called him a disgrace to boxing publicly. Years later, however, Tyson called Lewis in a completely different voice. In interviews and on Twitter, Tyson was praising Lewis as a great champion and even inviting him onto his podcast. That transformation revealed Tyson to be releasing past grievances and developing an appreciation for those whom he once derided. And then there's Mitch "Blood" Green, one of Tyson's strangest opponents. Their feud transcended boxing. It resulted in a crazy street brawl in Harlem during the late 1980s. Green had a puffy face, and Tyson shattered his hand, punching him. But years later, the two actually ran into each other. In a completely surprising moment, Tyson hugged Green and talked to him in a calm voice. It did not appear staged. It appeared as two men coming to terms with the fact that their fight was over. All of this indicates a significant transformation in Tyson as an individual. The fighter who previously led with rage and pain began to opt for peace and comprehension. In his later years, Tyson has publicly discussed his battles with mental illness, his spiritual development, and the path towards self-forgiveness. Forging peace with his former rivals was part of that healing process. What began as hatred became brotherhood, a great reminder that even the most battle-hardened warriors can be forgiven and redeemed.